last session we discussed about basics of JSON, JSON structure, what kind of data types you can use, how the JSON data looks like, how you can differentiate uh, the key value pairs of employee record or employee data or any data, right? So basically, how do you define the data? Using a key value pair. Each key value pair is separated with a comma. You can consider that key value pair as one a property of a user or any object. Okay, how you can write array of objects, JSON objects, right? Now when you have such kind of data, how you can query that, right? This is very important. You will be working in web services connector for integrating with REST APIs or SOAP APIs as well. As I mentioned already, SOAP is using XML format. REST, it uses JSON format. SOAP is already dead. Uh, there are some applications still using SOAP, like SAP. They also migrated or migrating to OData API, Open Data API. That's what they call it. Nothing but REST APIs only. The data format is REST only. Sorry, JSON only. Okay, yeah, I have worked in that as well. SAP Success Factors. It is using XML format. On the other hand, they have developed APIs which use using Open Data API. Open Data is the, as the name indicates, open source format to develop the APIs and represents the data in JSON format. Okay, so when you get the data, for example, account aggregation, right? What is account aggregation in SailPoint or group aggregation, even entitlement aggregation? We are going to get a list of objects, either it's a user or some group, doesn't matter. You are going to get list of objects of data. It's not like you will get the data in a simple format so that you can, or so that connector will understand. You need to give the connector how or where each attribute is there. In our account aggregation, uh, we need schema, right? So we define account schema. So for each and every attribute, we need to say from which path, the JSON path, you need to define from where this attribute can be picked. So out of the box connectors like Active Directory or Salesforce, SuccessFactors, or you see a lot of out of the box connectors. So that is, as the name indicates, it's direct connection. SailPoint has already developed the code to read the data for each and every attribute. Okay, whereas generic connectors like delimited file, JDBC, web services, these connectors are like custom. When you uh, when you work on delimited file, you need to say, right, which column is is there in your CSV file. Otherwise, how SailPoint connector will understand, correct? Similarly, when you define the account schema for a web service connector, right, you need to define the JSON path out of all the object. Or if I go back, this is how you get the list of objects. Okay, so now you have defined schema attributes. It cannot get that simply. You need to provide the JSON path so that it will understand for which attribute. In web service connector, for each operation you are going to define response mapping. So there you are going to define JSON path for each attribute. Okay, you will understand this when you are working in web service connector. But for now, let's see what is the JSON path. So JSON path is to query the data from a JSON object or data, right? So when we get the list of JSON objects, from those objects, you are going to fetch a particular attribute or a particular object, or the data of a particular user, or more than one user. So you are going to use this JSON path. It's same as XML as well. In It's not that different in case if you have worked in XMLs. So if you know how to query the data, it's almost same in JSON also. You will understand that. So I'm not gonna teach you XMLs here because it's not required anymore because it's already outdated. Okay. So these JSON expressions always refer to JSON structures in the same way as how you know XML document, which we used to call XPath expression. Okay. So the root member of object is referred to dollar. Okay. So whether it's an array or object doesn't matter. So dollar represents root. So JSON path expressions can be used as dot notation. So for example, dollar dot store, it means that dollar is the starting curly brace. Inside that you have an object called store. Inside this store object you have a lot of book objects. In that you are getting first index. So you got first book and that book title you are extract. Okay. Or you can represent the same notation instead of dots, you can use this braces as well, rectangular braces. So that is called as bracket notation. So inside this braces you are gonna represent in single quotes. If you do not represent in single quote, it will consider it as some out of the box or predefined attribute or something like a variable. If you define in single quote, it will consider it as a string. Okay. And 0 represents index. The index starts from 0, so you are gonna get the first one. Let's look into some examples, some data, how you can write the JSON path queries, how the data will look like once you write the query. Let me show you some examples. Okay, in order to test your data, for example, if you work in any web services connectors, we need to write the JSON query paths so that we can extract the data for each and every attribute. We will map that for each and every attribute of a user. Okay, so when we run the aggregation, let's say you get 100 users. So the JSON array will contain 100 JSON objects or items. So SailPoint is going to, the connector is going to parse each and every record, each and every JSON record. Okay, so from that record, you are going to extract the data. If you take web services, it has after operation rule for each and every operation. Okay, you will understand this more. Again, I'm repeating, when you are working in web services connector. Okay, you can go through web services application session, you will understand more. Fine. So here after operation rule, we will have two objects there. One is, or two arguments as input. One is uh, raw response object, second is processed response object. In raw response object, you will get this JSON output as a string. It will contain that as a string. All your data, whatever the results, even if it is thousands of users, let's say you have 70,000 of users, right? All that 70,000 users will be inside this raw response object as a string notation. So this one will be converted to a proper map, list of maps. Each map contains key value pair. Okay, so that connector will be able to give it to you know uh, account schema mappings, and it is going to create account or link object for each and every user or each and every record in your target application. Okay, so this one process response object, it will be uh, converting, or the raw response object will be converted to simple object for each and every user by using this JSON path. Okay, so when you run the account aggregation, you are gonna get lot of results. It's not like you need all of them. No, when the API is not developed by your team, right? SailPoint team, it is developed by application team. They will return lot of attributes. 100 attributes they are going to return in the response. They didn't develop just for sale point purpose, right? No, they have their own purpose. They are exposing their APIs. So out of 100 attributes, it's not like you are going to use all 100. You are going to use maybe 10, 20, 30. Even out of the box connectors, when you create that source or application, even if you are working, if you are from SailPoint Identity IQ, so there you are going to delete out of the box schema attributes if you are not going to work, or if you are not using those attributes in your organization. So similarly, API is going to write lot of attributes as a response. You are going to pick which attributes you need, and for each attribute you need to provide the path. So let's see. I'll show you some examples here. Okay, so this is the JSON object, for example. So how the path supposed to be written, and how you will see the output. So it is better to practice here. When you write these paths in SailPoint Identity or even SailPoint Identity IQ, you run the account aggregation task. It won't give you satisfactory results. Then you will be wondering why it is not working or it was not working. Again, you will change some path and you will run the account aggregation, still nothing. You will check the logs. It takes time, Instead, if you can, validate your queries, even SailPoint recommends this. Validate your JSON path queries before implementing inside SailPoint. Okay, so this is the one of the JSON tools I use in online to check my queries. But since I have bit expertise, so I don't need it anymore. But still, it's like playing for me, so I do play around here, like just for fun, So I suggest you to do that as well. Okay, now do not copy paste any JSON path queries you get outside. You might not understand if you're a beginner. So try to paste your data. It's okay. I understand that if you paste your data here in online, it might be data breach or something. Yeah, you copy the data in Notepad. You do not need thousands of records, right? Copy couple of records. Change that data. Remove that sensitive data if you have. Just keep some test data. Most of the times we start, right? It's not like most, even 100% of the times we start work in non-prod environment. Okay. In non-prod, we'll have test data, right? Not a real-time data, so no problem. Okay. So now I have the data. This is the root structure, right? Inside this, I have just only one object. Okay. Let's see how I can write that, or how I can query the data. So first, you should start with dollar as to go inside this object, whether it's a single object, it's a single object, or even if it is array of objects, still you need to start with dollar. See, you got the output. Next, I want to get dollar dot, I want to get key. See, I got the value. So it doesn't matter how many records you are gonna get in the output. By default, every output is going to be in array only. That's why even it doesn't know, right? When you write the JSON path, it doesn't know how many records it is going to fetch. After fetching only, it will know. It may be one or it may be two, it doesn't know. That's why always it represents in this array. Okay, next. I don't want key, I want array. Okay, so I'm gonna write dollar dot array. Now I got all the objects inside this array entry. It's a array. As the key indicates array, so it has a list of objects. So this is first object, second object, third object. Each object has key 1 2 3. Okay, so now I can write like this. Dollar of array gives everything, but if you see here, it's array of arrays. So I'm gonna select this. Okay, so now if you see, one array is gone. I'll remove this. If you see, this is array of arrays. You should not write like this. So it will consider it as a single item only. Okay, so it cannot go as a multi-dimensional arrays. SailPoint will not be able to go that like that. Okay, going inside and again inside, it won't work like that. One time only, one side. Consider it as a one-dimensional array. So that's why I'm gonna write star. Since it's array, I'm gonna use rectangular braces. It means that I'm selecting all the elements inside this array entry. Okay, so next, if you want to get a particular index, write 0, then you got first object. If I write 1, I get second object. If I write 2, third object. Like that, you can have any index. Okay, what if I would like to get more than one index? Comma 3. We don't have third, right? So that's why. Let me write 1 comma 2. Now I got two objects. Or I can write, for example, 0, 0 to 1. This won't work. Yeah, looks like this won't work. Anyway, so 1 comma 2. You get second and third one. Okay, if you most likely you might not do this a lot of times because index based it won't work most of the times. Okay, rare cases we use that, but in case if you'd like to get a particular index, yes, you can do that. Okay, next I want to get the first one, and then or let okay, fine, I got the first index. Inside that first object, I want to get this key entry, so key field dot key. I got value 1. Okay, so maybe I'll go for second one. Key is 3. Okay, sorry, I need to go. Second one means index is 1. Okay, key is 2. I don't want key, I would like to get dictionary. I got this dictionary object. This is again JSON object. So I got output as object. So in this dictionary, I would like to get value for entry B or field B. So dot B. Now I got butterfly. In case if this could have been an array, okay, I can build this for you. Okay, so now I'm gonna copy paste these entries. So these are the two similar object items, so keys should be same. So instead of apple, I'm gonna write apple 1, butterfly 1, cat 1, dog 1. So I have the values. Okay, so now dictionary.b will not work because it's a more than one entry. So now I need to write this as 0, or I can write as 1. Okay, so like that you need to pass the arrays, right? So now inside this I'm gonna write it as a star. Then I get entries for column B everywhere. Okay, let's say you have 1,000 records. You have 1,000 records. You want to get employee ID, only employee ID entry for all the users. You do not need to write some coding or parse the data using some XMLs or splitting or nothing. You need to just like write like this. Select all the items by using this array operator with star. Star means all. Dot give the key as employee ID. Then you get all the employee IDs here. Or if you'd like to see display name or emails, anything you can filter. Okay. So the next one, you can ask me, Krishna, how can I know which index I am going to get? It's not like always I'll come to know first index or second index, right? What if I need to write some conditions? Yeah, sure. So instead of the array of 1, I need to write some conditions. Okay. So let's say I would like to get the object whose key is 2. Then I need to write inside this array. So question mark, it means that you are filtering the data. Okay, so then once this question mark is there, you need to write your filter expression inside this braces and circular braces. Okay, so then inside this array, you are going to filter the elements or objects. So each and every object needs to be iterated. So we will use at the rate as to represent current node. So dot key equal to. Then I have given second one, right? So second one is given. If key is equal to 2, then only you use it. Or let's say, since I'm giving it as 1, 2, 3, that's why maybe it will be confusing for you. So I'm gonna change it to some string. Okay, let's say uh, uh, email I'm gonna keep. So email equal to empty, or I'm gonna write null for this user. Okay, so next here email uh, abc@xyz.com. Similarly here email, here I'm gonna write something abc12@xyz.com. Okay, so consider these are like what can I say, employee records. For example, I'll remove this. Okay, we have good record. So instead of dictionary, okay, fine, let it be. So now uh, I can write something better for you. Let's say display name Tom Cruise, then employee ID 1001. Okay, so now I'm gonna have these objects now. Okay, so like that you have this object. So for this second user, I'm gonna write email as cap@xyz.com. So the name is Captain America. Employee ID 1002. Next, let's say Hulk at xyz.com. Okay, fine. Consider we have employee records instead of array. I'm gonna write employee, or you can write it as a list. This is how it look like. So instead of key, it will say records. How many records we have? 3. This is how you get a sample JSON API response. Okay, so consider like you have 3 users only in your test API call, for example, or you can consider 300 or 3,000 or 30,000, each your wish. The data will look like this, a different way even. Sometimes I don't see record, sometimes I don't see list like this. In a different way they represent. Okay, but if you understand the concept, it's easy for you to write. Okay, now I would like to know how many records I got. Instead of record, sometimes they'll keep it as a count also. Anything they'll mention, no problem. Count or records. And okay, so now I would like to know how many what can I say, how many records or how many users I have. So then I'm gonna write dollar dot count. I got 3. Okay, 3 is not is 3 is a number, not a string, so I can write like this. Okay, then I would like to know, I would like to have this entire response, then just dollar. Okay, so next dollar dot, I want to get all the employee data. Since it's an array, I'm gonna keep inside this array braces. Then this is the correct way of employee records represented in array. So next I would like to get all the emails. See, null cap Hulk. But I would like to get all the employee IDs. So next I'm gonna write like this. I would like to get the name. Okay, so this is how you are gonna get all the records. Next, I would like to get the records. See, when you run the account aggregation, it is going to hit the API call. Then it is going to fetch or get the response as all this data in raw response object, as the name indicates, raw response object. Okay, so that raw response object, you don't need everything what it has. You do not need count. You don't need this list. You just need these records only. These are the employee records, right? So then you are gonna write this root path and then attribute mapping, response mapping. Those two steps you need to take care of. Based on those two configurations, your uh, processed response object will be created, which is list of maps. If you are familiar with a hash map, this is how a hash map look like, key value pair. Okay, so I'm gonna write like this. I don't want records whose example, if you keep email as native identity, okay, or employee ID as native identity, in case if that attribute is missing the value, then your aggregation will fail in the middle because native identity cannot be null. Okay, so I don't want users whose native identity is null or some attribute is null. I would like to filter them, so that's why I'm going to write this search query filter string. So question mark, then your filter will go inside this braces. So there you are gonna write at the rate means current node. So once you write question mark, it is going to read each and every object. So first object it is taken. So how to represent that object? At the rate dot. What is the current? I mean, what is the attribute you need to filter out? Take email not equal to null. See, I got these two records. In case if you'd like to get nulls, then yeah, sure. You can filter like this. Okay. So these are the important query paths you need to understand. Okay. So do not write complete JSON path if you get from somewhere. It is better to practice like this. Then you will be able to understand. Alright, as we discussed, dollar means the root element array. That is how you start the expression as well. Okay, at the rate denotes current node. Star means wildcard. It is it can be used to select all of the objects. Okay, dot deep scan, even I'm not sure, available anywhere a name is required. So dot means I have mentioned, right, dollar dot. So if you use two dots, it means that it will go to two sub objects. Okay, and then dollar dot name we have seen, dot notated child or bracket notated child you have seen. Array index or indexes, instead of getting single index or single object, you can mention multiple array indexes so that you can get more objects. Start to end slice operator, we tried that but it didn't work. Well, see, JSON Path, I use some other tool as well, but it is not working for some operations. But yeah, you go with the concept. Okay, this online JSON queries online tools, it is not working for every operator, and even it is working a bit different. I'll show you an example. Okay, so but you go with the concept. Then last one is to filter the output or filter the data you have, the expression how you are gonna write. Okay, so starts with the rectangular braces because you are gonna filter array of elements. Starts with question mark. When you see that question mark, it will consider that okay, you are going to query the data. It means that I need to filter based on some conditions. Inside this circular braces or general brackets or parentheses, however you define that. So there you are gonna write the expression. So it's a condition like if condition. So it is going to write true or false. Next, you can write JSON operators inside that filter. So we have seen equal to, not equal to as well. Similarly, you can write less than, these comparators, right? And these are the complex operators, size, empty, none of, subset of. Even I have not used so far in SailPoint. Listen, where do you need this query paths? In two places. If you are SailPoint Identity IQ professional, you need in only one place, which is web services to filter the data. Or as I mentioned, for how the any HTTP operation will work in web service connector. So for every operation, whether it's a read or write, I mean aggregation or provisioning doesn't matter. You have after operation rule. This after operation rule has two arguments: raw response object, processed object. Raw response object, as the name indicates, it contains raw information from the API call. The process response object is what, as the name indicates, based on the query paths, the root, your root path and response mapping you are going to define. Based on these two paths, processed response object will be created. This object is used for creating the accounts in your cell point. Okay, so only that place you need this JSON path expressions. Whatever I have explained, those are more than enough. When it comes to cell point, I didn't know, along with web services connector, you need one more place, which is workflows. Okay, uh, since cell point, I didn't know, has low coding it's a low coding platform, right? So the workflows are low code, sometimes no code also. It's just a drag and drop. In Identity IQ, we used to write a lot of coding. They are just to stop in the middle generic step. For the generic step, you can use some out of the box methods, or you will write a lot of coding. Whereas in Identity, no, it's not like that. Everything is drag and drop, and there you are gonna write some filters, you know, or as I mentioned in SailPoint, I don't know, every object is represented in JSON, so it's going to have a lot of scope there. You get a lot of data and you are going to filter it out. So the complexity in SailPoint, I don't know, is filtering. You need to learn that. Okay, so these are complex operators. Even I have not tried or not created any examples of it, but I'll create some for you. I cannot guarantee that it will be useful for you, because even we haven't tried, implementing complex workflows yet, because workflows is a uh, paid module. In Identity IQ, I think rapid setup was there. It will give you automatic lifecycle events. Okay, so that one was, yeah, it's not rapid setup, sorry, accelerator module. Yeah, that was licensed in version 7, I think, 7.2, 7.3. But starting from 8 versions, it's not a separate license, it is included. Whether you use or not, it's a secondary. Other than that, some modules were licensed, but more than that, pretty much you get everything you need in a single license. And how you are going to pay for Identity IQ? There is a range, like from 100 to 500 users, a different price will be there. For 2000 to 10,000, like that, some range is there. Whereas if you take this identity now, you are gonna pay for per user license. Okay, so the cost or pricing model is different. Workflows is a licensed module. I have worked in one client where the workflows was not at all, purchased, so I couldn't see that workflows option even. Not one client, two clients I have seen. Okay, so when we looked for workflows module to purchase, I came to know that you need to purchase along with AI module as well, artificial intelligence module. Both together, it's going to be a hefty price, so clients were not ready to pay. Even some clients, I hear a couple of times like they don't want to go with cloud rules because it's dependency with the sale point. For every deployment of cloud rule, they'll charge you something, and workflow is also heavy. So that's why uh, there is no much use cases yet. And workflows, they are releasing new features, so it's not like we have used it to the fullest potential what it has. We are building slowly. We'll come to know how much or what kind of complex use cases we can build. For example, we write for loop, right? I mean iterations, each and every object. When you use that iteration loop in loop operator in workflows, it can loop maximum of 200 only. So it has limitations. A lot of limitations are there. Since it's not your own server, it's a SailPoint own server, right? So they have their own limitations. Otherwise, it will go infinite loop. It will be running forever and it is going to increase the server utilization cost. SailPoint will be paying a lot. You are not going to pay. SailPoint will be paying. That's why there are a lot of limitations. So I cannot um, guarantee that these all operators will be required for you, but we will see. I'll create a different session with examples and demos, right? Then functions, yeah, similarly, if you have a lot of data, you use these functions to go there. But as I mentioned, you don't need that any at the moment. Even I'm not looking at this. So far, I explained the examples. Those will be enough to work in both the web services connector and workflows also. So for whatever I have seen or I have worked or I discussed with my friends and colleagues, these are enough for you. But in case if it is required, I always convey this. It's not like I'm going to take you to the you know high level or higher positions. I'm going to it's not like we teach you how to race. We teach you how to walk like a baby, how you can run. Once you have strong foundations, the racing will be depends on you. We cannot teach you the racing. Walking and running we can teach you. These are enough for you to run. Whereas racing, you need to use your potential. Okay, but we will give you the tips, suggestions, recommendations. All right. But anyway, I always look for new things, and if something is there, I'm gonna release a new session.